So I thought I'd try something a little different. You go to my channel, there's a picture there, so I thought I'd show you how I did that. So here I take a cube and I want to move it up a little bit. I moved it up 1 meter, and then I want to change the origin to the 3D cursor. Go to the object menu and then down to set origin and select origin to 3D cursor. Now if you right click on that, here it says remove from quick favorites, but if you don't have a quick favorite, you can add it, and then if you hit Q for quick favorites, it'll pop up in that little pop-up menu that you get. So things that you want to do a lot, it's good if you go ahead and take care of it that way. And here I'll add a cylinder. I think I'm going to add a little teapot. So let me move that, do the same thing, shift it up, origin to 3D cursor, and then move it over. And so I extrude up, and extrude again, scale it in, extrude again, and here I alt-click on the surface and then hit Shift-Z so that it only scales in X and Y. And then let me scale it up again and kind of flare it out. That looks pretty good right there. And then I'll add some subdivision to it, and of course it looks terrible then. So if I put a loop there and then put a loop there, these kind of help it keep its shape there at the corners. So that looks pretty good. Let me increase the subdivisions and then go to object mode, shade smooth, and there it is, vase. Now, not really a vase if you don't have, if you have a closed top. So I select the surface and then hit Control plus to expand the selection one, delete those surfaces and add a solidify. And then back to object mode. And there, that'll be my vase. And here, as I was doing the vase, I decided what I want to do is actually get rid of that. And I'll start off with a UV sphere. And I'll do the same thing, shift it up, origin to 3D cursor. And then I'll move it over to the side. So there, origin to 3D cursor, let's move it over to the side. And then shade smooth. And then when I scale it, here it's going to sort of flatten like that. And then if I go to edit mode and select one of these curves at the bottom, and then what I want to do is hit the O key that turns on the proportional editing, and then if you adjust that a little bit, you can slide it down and just affect things in its local area. And then what I want is a little handle and then a spout. So first I'll work on the handle. So here I'll select a single surface and then Control plus to expand, and here I have the Mesh Tools add-on, and then you can select circle. If you want to see more about that, go to my my channel and look at the video. I have a video on that tool. And then I'm going to inset that and then extrude. Let's scale it down and then put some loops there. That's a Control R to get those loops. And then let's extrude it out, select those surfaces, extrude some more, expand it, and then let's hit I and inset those surfaces. Then let's do that again. Oh, yeah, a better way to do that is do a little bit and then scale it in. And then we'll kind of move that along the local y-axis so that it's kind of dimpled in at the end. Then I want a spout. So let's see, let me put the spout right here. I'll do the same thing, expand it out, hit that circle, and then you have to rotate a little bit to get it oriented right. And then let's extrude it. Let's rotate it a little bit. And let's extrude it out a little bit more, kind of scale it down, add a couple loops with the Control R. And then let's just mess around with this a little bit with the proportional editing. And here, if you have it in, well, I guess first let's select that middle surface, expand out, and then let's inset that. And then let's extrude it, well, let's extrude it in. So it's a spout. And then if I hit Alt and then click on one of those loops, I can select the whole loop. And I'm just messing around with it until I get something that looks kind of like what I want. And I want a top. So here I'm going to select the, let me select that middle surface and then hit the Control plus to expand. And then if you hit P, you can select that object to be its own object. And then if I select that, expand it out a little bit. Let's give it a solidify modifier and give it a little bit of thickness there. And then on the top I want a little handle so you can open it up. So I'm going to select these surfaces, and let's extrude and scale it in, and then extrude a couple times, and we'll just make a little bit of a handle here, kind of expand it out here, extrude it again, and let's extrude it again, and then like scale it in so it's kind of a rounded handle. Maybe one more time. There. So there it is, our little pot. And if we put a plane, and if we scale this out, we can use this as our table. And this is going to be very, very simple. Now I did this inside the pot object, the pot lid object. So actually what I want to do is I want to hit that P and add that, separate that selection to a separate object. And now what I want to do is add subdivisions to everything so things kind of look a little better. And that one already has it, but I think I'll move it down. Now let's go back to object mode. And let's start looking at shading, as I said. So here I have I just added a texture as the color, and that's a wood image that I got from Polyhaven. And what I did with that, I put that into the color, and then I put that into, if you go to color, there's a hue saturation, and I just put the saturation down to 0, so that makes it kind of a black and white image. And then I dragged that into the height of a bump and put that into the normal. It's a little hard to see here, but if you go into rendered view, you can see it's got some texture there, kind of a, go ahead and apply the solidify to the lid, and then combine those two with a Control J, and then this texture, that this shader that I make is going to be applied to both of them. And I'm going to take the color and make it black. Just drag that all the way down. And then I'm going to give it a texture like the other one. So here, Control T if you have the Node Wrangler add-on. And here I'm going to put objects into the vector. And if you do a Shift S, it'll bring up the menu and you can reselect what that node is. And here I'm going to give it a noise texture. So for the pot, let's see, I had a noise 193 for the scale, 16 for the detail, 0.825 for the roughness, 0.3 for the distortion. I put that into a color ramp and then fed that into a bump node, and that goes into the normal. So you can see it gives you a kind of rough texture, and I brought the strength down to about 0.2. I think I brought the roughness up a little bit, around 0.7, specular all the way up. And I think that's about it. There's our pot. Now the vase is a little bit different. There it's a little more complicated because I have a gradient and a Musgrave and a noise. So here I do the Control T on the principled BSDF. Here I'm taking the generated into the mapping, and that image texture, I hit the Shift S and I'm changing that to a gradient texture. You can see it's kind of shading one side of it, but it's the back side, and what I want to do is take that rotation and Y and rotate it 90 degrees, and then if I zoom out you can see, hey, actually that's a gradient in Z now. So if I adjust the X a little bit, move that out, then I'm going to take this gradient texture into a color ramp. And on the color ramp, I'm going to play around with that a little bit. I add another level in there, another gray tone, so I can get a little more control over it. And drag that down so it's a little more gradual. That looks pretty good there. And then I have another collection of these three nodes. So I copy those, move them down, and then that's going to feed into two nodes. One's a Musgrave, and the other's a noise texture. So here I use the same trick, the Shift S on one, so here the Musgrave I have 4.3, 15, 1, and 2 for those settings. And then the noise, it's 0.6, 16. Roughness I didn't touch, and distortion as well. And those go into a multiply. Let me play around with that a little bit because I want a little more mixture of the colors in the final render. So this goes in. So as I increase the factor, you can see that it's getting it more white on top. So on the top, it's just going to be that red color mainly, and then gradually as you go down, it's going to get mixed in with a darker color, kind of a grayish tone. So here, the hex code for the red that I'm using is 681E16. And then the hex code for the gray that I'm using is 232323. So I put that into an invert. I'm really not sure that I need that. I think I may have messed up a little bit. That's what I wanted. Okay. So I'll bring that back down. And here I'm just kind of playing around with it until I get something that I like. I was messing around a little bit with some of the colors, the scaling on the Musgrave and all that until it's something that looks good to me. So that goes into the base color, and then the output of that goes into the surface. And there you have it. The color's there, but it doesn't really look like the vase that I want. What I want to do is bring the roughness down, and here I'm using like 0.04 for the roughness. I brought the specular all the way up to 1, and then the clear coat as well. And then the clear coat roughness, I brought it up to about 0.35. So it's got the nice shiny look of a vase that's got some clear coat on it. Now the world, I want something in the background, so here I'm putting in an environment texture, and there you can read in an HDRI image. And here I grabbed one off of Polyhaven, threw it in the background, changed the light to a sun and oriented it like I wanted to, and then bring the camera in, and let's go to view, click this camera to view, and then you can use the mouse to kind of zoom in and out and put the camera exactly where you want it. And I change it to cycles, put it on GPU, and then let's go ahead and give that a render. And that's basically it. So I showed you a little bit of the shading techniques and use of HDRI. And if you like the video, go ahead, like and subscribe. And thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.